What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 114. As you can see, we're doing a remote episode this week because old K-Dog wasn't able to join us, and I've got a business trip Wednesday. Yes, we're shooting this Tuesday. I don't think too much will change. A little injury news here and there, but that's beside the point. As you can also see, I'm joined with our stand-in Cowboys mock draft host himself, Matt,
Hello.
back for another glorious week, talking divisional round of the playoffs. But before we get into that, we're here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And without further ado, SpeakPipe. Don't forget to leave your question on SpeakPipe. You only got a few more weeks for football questions before that's basically useless, and we'll get into the summer of whatever Kev and I decide to dive into. Lord knows there's plenty of different topics within the NFL to talk about. And now, without wasting too much time, first game of the week. Bills at Broncos Saturday at 4:30, over under 46.5. Denver are dogs, 1.5. Kind of crazy. Bills come off a really great week, beat the Jaguars, who I audibly talked about more than I should have, been some of the best, maybe the best team in the playoffs. Good Lord, was that a miss? We did mention last week, Josh Allen did the thing. He was the X factor in that game, and he powered them to win in Jacksonville. And I think, what was it, their first win in 33 seasons on the road in the
Yeah,
playoffs?
first road win, I think. Is that ever? It could be 33 years. It goes ever.
One or the other, maybe both. I mean, honest to God, 30 years is a generation. So if you ask me, it might as well be ever for some people. But yeah, they do it. And now here they are in a short week, playing 2 games in 6 days, traveling to Mile High Stadium to take on the Denver Broncos, who have had plenty of rest. Bills without Poyer and Gabe Davis already. I think that's going to be kind of a big deal. I think Gabe Davis actually got some pretty good action in that Bills game. Obviously, probably in part with he used to play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, that's another wide receiver Josh Allen's without. But, you got Kincaid, you got Dawson Knox. Pretty good spot. But that Broncos rushing defense, I'm curious to see how they show up in the big game. I don't know how they finished the season necessarily in my head. But, the Jaguars shut down the rush last week, and that made it hard for the Bills. And now here they go, going from basically the number 1 rushing defense to the number 2 rushing defense.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if they make some adjustments, knowing that Josh Allen was also a little banged up after that Jacksonville game. The Denver Broncos are a pretty physical team, too, and now you're traveling to their home stadium to take them on. Luckily enough, sunny, as everyone can see. We got a pretty nice weather game, at least on Tuesday. Lord knows Denver's weather can change on a dime probably. But, Broncos, I don't necessarily understand how they're underdogs in this situation, only because of the sake of rest. I feel like Denver's been preparing for one of 2 teams now for almost 2-3 weeks, and the Bills have just been trying to, next game up, but they've had a much shorter week. I think that affects them quite a bit. Matt, I don't know how you feel about a short week, given how Josh Allen did against Jacksonville.
I almost think it's better for the Bills. The Bills are still warm. They're going to come out hot. I think the problem with
Yep.
Denver, if you look at the college playoffs this year exactly, 3 of the 4 teams that got a bye week lost, so they came out slow, and the other teams are already repped up. I'm thinking if the Bills want to win this, they're going to have to come out and actually put some points on the board early, because the Broncos have shown in the past they're good in close scoring games, and they usually don't come alive till end of third, late fourth quarter.
That's true. You're
So
not wrong.
if they're already start slow and then they're coming off a few bye weeks where they might start slow again, I think that's why the Bills might be a little bit favored there. Also, I think the defense is always banged up. It feels like Pat Surtain's been on and off the field almost every other game. A couple of people have been on and off the field. So I like the Buffalo in this, but it wouldn't shock me if Denver squeaked it. It's definitely going to be close. I don't think it's going to be one-sided.
No, I agree. And it does feel like this will be a game where maybe the Bills come out slinging it like they did against, what was the Patriots in that second game?
Yeah.
That the Patriots ended up coming back in. And maybe the Broncos start off a little rough, but then they come back a little bit towards the end of the half, start of the third quarter, after everyone's kind of warmed up. And I would assume, as the number 1 seed in a year that I don't think many people had the Broncos being the number 1 seed necessarily. And
there's been a lot of
the
fraud
jitters,
watch talks.
there's been a lot, and I tweeted it out, and Lord knows the Chargers lost to the Patriots. We'll get into that. But, the Broncos are one of those teams, along with the Patriots, that have not played the hardest schedule. The strength of victory was, I think, either the same as the Patriots or marginally better, but it's a stat. And the Bills are 5-1 against the spread versus teams that are won more than 55% of their games, which is pretty impressive given, I think, the slow start for the Bills this season and how we kind of talked about them along with the Ravens early on and where they're at, what they're doing. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of split on this because again, it's Bo Nix. That Broncos offense hasn't been perfect this season. Their defense definitely has fired on more cylinders, I think, than their offense. But now the Bills feel more banged up than they have been, but it also seems like they've been banged up this whole season for
Yeah.
the most part.
I also think the Bills have the edge just with the playoff experience. Bo Nix still being
Yeah,
young, not really much playoff. Josh Allen's been here multiple times. Like, I think that also gives them the edge, the nerves, the rust, everything's going to be ready for the Bills, not so much the Broncos.
I agree. But do you feel like Buffalo being favorites, does that scare you if you're getting points with Denver? Because
I don't
I'm
know.
kind of split, even on who I want to win or who I think wins. The Denver plus 1.5, like this probably is a field goal game.
It's going to be a field goal game for sure. I think Buffalo squeaks it out, though. I think Buffalo's going to get a big lead to begin. I think that's what's going to do. The Broncos playing from behind most of the game.
22-19 would be electric. Like the Bills
Yeah.
miss a field goal, have to, or a extra point, have to go for two, get it, then have to score three at the end to win it. Maybe. I don't know. I'm split as hell on how this game goes.
I'm going Bills.
For the sake of it being Buffalo and Denver, and I had the Jaguars as my number one team, and the Bills beat them in Jacksonville. And yeah, I'm gonna go Bills as well. Mostly also because it would be hilarious if the Bills have had home field advantage basically all throughout the last 4 or 5 years that they've been the Bills, and they've never been able to get off the hump, get over the hump. And now this season where they don't have that at any point in the playoffs would be kind of hilarious for them to get over the hump now.
Yeah, I mean, they don't
But
have Lamar, no Burrow, no Mahomes. This is their year. If they can't do it this year, then this
Poyer
is
being out scares me a bit, but I think they've played without Poyer too. But you're right. Without all those other teams that typically are in this with them, this could be the best chance for them. And this is
yeah.
not going to be. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to go Bills on this game. Just a hunch. It is the 4:30 game, so part of me thinks the nerves might not be quite as bad for the Broncos, but there's definitely going to be nerves there at the beginning. Whatever. Bills. On to the next. I'm going to stop rambling. Niners at Seahawks. We got a Week 18 divisional rematch. Saturday, 8 o'clock, over under 44.5. Seattle is right now favored by 7 on FanDuel. That is going to fluctuate between 6.5 and 7.5, I think, all week, regardless. Now, the last time these teams met, we got one of the most boring games of the regular season. Seattle's defense played out of their mind. Sam Darnold did enough, and the 49ers just couldn't keep up with them in San Francisco at Levi Stadium. And now here they go again, playing now at Seattle instead of San Francisco. One glaring issue about this. Well, okay, wait. Kittle's out, obviously. Everyone saw that
Yeah.
injury. Nothing to dispute about that. That's terrible. I feel so bad for Kittle in that situation. But they do have Tongus, or however you say his
And
name
Luke
properly. I think I
Farrell, who
got.
stepped up a few times too.
Yeah, not to mention Kyle Juszczyk, who they kind of just
Yeah.
put in his place. It felt like in real time versus the Eagles. But Tonjes has done plenty when Kittle's been out earlier in the season. But now you face Sam Darnold in the playoffs. Does Sam Darnold do the funniest thing ever?
Sam
And base
Darnold's
not
going to go back to Sam Darnold. Every big game he does, I'll eat my words if he doesn't. I think this game's going to be close, not because Niners are better than Seattle. It's because Sam Darnold's in charge of Seattle.
I agree to an extent. For sure, you can't overlook what he's done in the past. Can we make an argument that this Seattle defense is the best defense he's had, beating out the Vikings defense of last year? Because I want to think that Seattle defense this year scores way more than that Vikings defense did last year. But
And
Sam Darnold could give it back to the Niners just as much. So that's where I'm questioning a few things. Not to mention, while the 49ers went into Philadelphia at the Link and beat the Eagles, which is a feat of its own because those teams have had a rivalry kind of for the last few years throughout the playoffs. that felt like it was AJ Brown's downfall a little bit.
Yeah, he had a big bunch of drop balls there.
And the 49ers defense has been beat up a little bit. It felt like Salah figured out how to make it work. The Niners are a great coach team. But Mike McDonald with the Seahawks has been something else the last few years. He made Sam Darnold work. He made Geno Smith work the year before, I want to say. And he made someone else work. I can't remember. But this is going to be quite the coaching battle. And I'm sure these coaches hate each other. Maybe not as much as Ben Johnson and Matt LaFleur. But
yeah,
I'm kind of leaning old team this to 6.5 and taking the Seahawks.
I like San Fran.
I don't. Yeah.
I think San Fran
obviously,
is the upset. They just proved they can win on the road against tough teams. I'm not convinced of Sam Darnold, as I said before. I think San Fran's been hurt all year. Like, they've continued to get through it and through it. I think San Fran can squeak it out.
Do you think the Eagles are that good of a team, though?
I think
you think about
they both have QB problems.
fair play, But I think back to the regular season, I'm like, the Cowboys beat the Eagles at one point, didn't they? And
yeah.
The Chargers beat the Eagles, and there's something about the Eagles that maybe wasn't cursed, but it was a different team than what I originally had in my head for them going into this season.
They never established the running game with Saquon Barkley as dominant as it was last year, and they made Jalen Hurts have to throw the ball more. And I'm not high on Jalen Hurts, but that's a story for another time.
No, and you know what? For what it's worth, they fired their offensive coordinator today, Petula. So it seems like there was already issues going on there for what it's worth. But I think the Seahawks are a much better team than the Eagles. And while it's impressive they beat the Eagles, it felt like the city might have already been on fire and then it just started burning as that game went on.
Yeah.
And Brock Purdy, didn't start the game off great, but he definitely did more than enough to win that game. I'm going to go Seahawks -6 and -6.5 and just see if Sam Darnold could change what he's been doing. I think I'm going to believe in the Darnold and just accept that he might pumpkin, and that's my money lost. You said your piece.
I'm going San Fran, yeah.
I respect it. Okay. Ugh. Sunday slate. 3 o'clock, over under 41.5. Patriots favored by 3 currently. Texans at Patriots. 2 of the craziest defensive performances in the playoffs so far. Texans obviously go to Pittsburgh, beat the allegations, even though Stroud for most of that game didn't want to win. And they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter on defense, or they had a pick and they scored one, if I'm remembering that right.
They had a pick 6,
Yeah, they had a pick 6, and then they had the fumble too, right? That they picked up and ran back.
Yep, 2 defensive touchdowns, a Woody Mark touchdown.
Yeah. And then Christian Kirk. And then the Patriots obviously rout the Chargers in the fourth quarter. Gotta love that. Thank God Greg Roman, the terrorist, is gone. And the offensive line coach got fired too. Hope the best for both of them. Glad they're out of LA. All right, that's all I'm going to say. There's no reason to beat that dead horse. I blame the offensive coordinator. No one on that offense looked good. That's my piece on it. Now, the Patriots going into that game did not look like they had a great pass rush. Milton Williams, that was his first game back, I believe. And they turned out the Chargers come out saying that they don't know what scheme they're running on defense. The Chargers offense can't figure out shit. It is what it is. That goes up in flames, but proves the Patriots can do it, and they look damn good doing it. Texans we already knew they had a great defense. There's nothing to be said there. Arguably, the Chargers were 2-3 ranked defense overall. The Texans were number 1 by far. They proved that without a doubt. I think they kept the Pittsburgh from scoring a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So unbelievable job by the Texans defense. Patriots also a remarkable job, and now they go head-to-head. Stroud looked visibly nervous in Pittsburgh. I mean, how many almost fumbled snaps and / fumbles did he have in that game? It was at one point
over 4 fumbles and 2 picks.
Yeah, and the Patriots, while they maybe not had the interceptions or anything like that, I mean, they stood on their head at like the 4-yard line on 4th and goal and stopped the Chargers and other amazing just plays in general and coverage. Drake Maye now goes up against the next hardest defense he could face. And the Patriots had answers. I mean, that was a well-coached team. End of story. And D'Amico Ryans, Mike Vrabel go head to head now. I think we're in for probably a pretty low scoring game. Personally, is kind of how I read this game. I'm assuming it's going to be a little chilly, Northeast, but these are two good defenses right now, and the Texans' offensive line is nothing special from what we were seeing against the Steelers and what we've seen throughout most of the season, as we knew. I, first off, love the under 41.5 for this game. For as much as Stroud was going deep on a couple of those plays for the Texans, I don't know how they're going to be able to pull that off with how the Patriots were playing. But we'll see. Nico Collins might be out with a concussion. We don't have that news officially yet. It's something to be talked about. I think he left towards the end of that game. Obviously, his head's just smacked the ground. And hopefully he comes back. We'll have to see. That news isn't officially out yet. New England 6-2 against the spread as home favorites. Houston's 3-3 against the spread as road dogs. I don't know where I'm leaning right now. Matt, do you have a strong opinion on how these teams have played so far or where they might be going next?
If CJ Stroud doesn't fix his mistakes, Patriots are going to run away with this. Like, the Patriots, There's nothing like, they look good. They've also played a lot of easy teams, but they don't turn the ball over. They are they play smart football, and that's just really what's got them through it.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have any like huge explosive plays 90% of the time, but what they do is they just control the ball well. I think if they can control that turnover battle, 100% the Patriots are going to run away with it. Even with the Texans defense being that good, I think the offense on the Patriots just, as you said, well coached enough and they just click well enough. Mm-hmm. But if CJ Stroud can actually handle it and control the ball better, I think the defense will squeak it out for him.
I kind of have the same feeling. Was it Christian Gonzalez?
The Gonzalez on the Patriots is a dog, yeah.
Yeah,
he's been good.
Hats off to him. I mean, it was just a crazy game to watch. Absolutely boring for 3 quarters, but they still managed to pull it out, even in a not so exciting game per se.
Yeah, it kind of gets back to the Broncos where Drake Maye, rookie, got the rookie. Yeah, he's got the nerves on first playoff games. Tony Gonzalez, rookie game. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. They kind of brushed that off with the first playoff game, but that wasn't really the toughest battle.
No, it definitely wasn't, especially on offense for the Chargers. But one thing I am curious about is the Texans were able to run the ball pretty well with Woody Marks and Nick Chubb against the Steelers, who have done, up until that point, pretty well against the run. While I don't think the Patriots are going to, how do I say it? Their coverage was good, and they were able to shut down any Chargers wide receivers they came across. The Houston Texans' ability to run the ball now with Nick Chubb could be a slight, not advantage, but maybe benefit to CJ Stroud getting comfortable in that game to start it. And I'm sure they'll plan for that better if that even is a problem. That was honestly wild. I did not expect to see that at Pittsburgh. But, Drake Maye hung in there, and he did throw a pick early against the Chargers and came back and looked good, or good enough, if you would rather say that.
I mean, said about it.
Yeah, he was running for his life a few times. I think he had been sacked 4 or 5 times too by the Chargers.
5 sacks. Yeah,
he wasn't exactly protected either. So I really think this is going to be a defensive battle, and it's going to come down to kicking. And while the Texans have Fairbairn, I feel like the home field always gives the kicker that home field advantage to the kicker.
I'm going Patriots like on this. I like Patriots by 3.
Yeah, I do too. I think they squeak it out just barely. I think going back on the road again is going to be a bit tough for the Texans.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't have Nico Collins. Now, to end the divisional round weekend, Rams at Bears at 6:30 on Sunday, over under 48.5. Chicago dogs by 3.5. Rams go outside again, this time to Chicago. The Bears sneak away with McManus missing another kick. That's got to suck for Packers fans. I don't think any news has come out about Matt LaFleur yet, but there certainly has been some loud conversations about it. Ben Johnson obviously screaming "fuck you" to the Packers, and the drive-by handshake. That was hilarious to watch. I think LaFleur did that earlier in the season to him in the Bears-Packers game. So you already know Ben Johnson had just not stopped thinking about it ever since then. I thought it was hilarious. I'm glad he doubled down on it and said, I hate that team or whatever. I think that's how rivalries should be. But now, one of the, I won't say worst, but yeah, kind of the worst passing defense plays the Rams with Puka Nacua, Stafford, Devontae Adams, Parker Robinson. Really just what's going to be a real challenge for them. The weather might end up being a benefit to them because the Rams got outed last year against the Eagles when I think Stafford sailed one over Puka Nacua in the end zone in the snow versus Philadelphia. I don't know if history repeats itself, but I definitely think that helps the Bears out in this situation where they struggled to stop passing touchdowns. Maybe if it's cold enough, and not to mention Matthew Stafford having a sprain on his throwing index finger. I am no quarterback expert by any means. I would imagine any discomfort in the hand is going to affect your throw at some point. I don't know if that's such a, hey, hands up, not an expert here, but I feel like that would just affect the average person unless they shoot him up with drugs.
He'll be painkillered up, I'm sure.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. But any sort of hits they get on Stafford, maybe, you could lead that to be amplified more this time. I don't know. I'm just coming up with angles for this game. I think the Rams are the better team overall.
I think the Rams win it.
There was, Caleb Williams, like we said last week, he's made the plays in the big moments this year. That pass to DJ Moore to win the game. Good moment when you show up. But that was a bit of a struggle throughout most of that game, and the first half especially when they were down 21-3.
He still only completed 50% of his passes on 48 attempts. He still had 2 interceptions. Yes, he came back in the end, but he still did not have very good quarterback play till the last 5 minutes of the game. And that's not going to work against every team. Not every team's going to collapse like the Packers did.
I agree.
And I think Sean McVay is too much better of a coach to control that from happening.
And Sean McVay versus Ben Johnson, I'm not going to say it's going to be like the best game we've ever seen, but it could be an absolute beauty to watch. And the Rams defense has not been, I want to say top tier, but not what we're used to seeing from them as in last year or the year before. I don't know if that's injury or if it's just been bad team matchups maybe. But I'm excited to see the Rams play the Bears this week. On the road versus the Panthers, it was a little bit close for comfort. They go up 17-7. It kind of felt like it was getting to a spot where they could run away, and that just didn't happen.
For some reason, the Panthers just played the Rams well. Like I said, they beat them earlier in the season too. So
it could really just be like, for whatever reason, it's the Rams that give them trouble, and everyone just thinks of the Panthers as that throwaway game that doesn't matter, and they sneak up on you. I feel like that won't be the case with the Bears. I don't think they'll be up 17-7, but I do think this game isn't going to have that comeback in it. But if they've already given one up to Carolina, who's to say, and the Bears already came back on the Packers, the Rams won't do damn near the same thing again.
This is kind of the same thing as Broncos for me. I feel like with this Bears team who get hot late, you need a lead going into the second half against the Bears.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And if they can't get that, then I'll give it to the Bears. But I think the Rams will get that lead. As you said, one of the best passing offenses against one of the worst passing defenses, even though it's supposed to be super cold out. This hasn't stopped them in the past.
No, it hasn't. And I think Stafford's probably itching to get there one more time before he retires.
Exactly,
Who knows when that is? But before the season started, we were talking about Stafford potentially being injured. Do you remember that? And there was just
he said he didn't know if he was going to play week 1 because of his back. Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they're doing just fine. Who would have thought? But I'm also Chicago plus 3.5. I think this might be a touchdown game, but the Bears have just come back so much and they've surprised so many people. I don't know. I'm struggling because they do have that DeAndre Swift Monangai running back duo that has just been good this season. And DJ Moore looks good. Loveland, crazy game last week.
Yeah.
I would imagine they're going to plan for that a little bit better, but it didn't start that way. It just ended up being his game all of a sudden. But then you look at Caleb Williams whining about people not running their routes. It's like, I feel like Rodgers can get away with that because it's Aaron Rodgers. He's been to a Super Bowl and he's won, and he's been 2-time MVP back-to-back. But when Caleb Williams does it, because there's none of that's already happened for him, it just is a little different when anybody sees him just crying on the field. But maybe it is their fault. We'll never know as the viewer until the podcast years from now when someone gets interviewed. But
yeah, like I said, they need to come out hot. Last week against the Panthers, Puka had 2 in like the first quarter and 2 minutes. They always
I'm
come
sure
off
that
hot. I don't know. This game's hard to pick for me because I've always been a Bears hater. I'm against Caleb Williams. I don't think I just don't view them as a good team, but I can't keep disrespecting them because they keep proving me wrong. But I'm
I
absolutely in Rams. I can't knock the
I
Rams
the
here.
Rams have
Plus,
to be the better team.
yeah,
I don't know. Plus 3.5 is crazy. The weather obviously plays a part in every dome team when anybody's picking them, so maybe that's part of it. Mm, this is terrible. If anybody's still watching the video at this point, I appreciate you. I I like the Rams for everything, and that's why it worries me. I'm gonna take the Rams to win this game because I don't think the Bears are there just yet, and I think this will be a great start to Ben Johnson's career as the Bears head coach.
agreed.
I think the Rams will be too hungry for this, and after almost blowing it to the Panthers, they won't let that happen again. I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Yeah,
And hell yeah. Other than that, I'm just gonna rant for a couple minutes about the Chargers, and then we'll be done for the day. But dude, I'm so glad I didn't send any crazy tweets out. When was that? Sunday night after that game, because after sleeping on it, it felt like Sunday night the game happens, right? Everyone's firing off tweets, all the memes are getting posted, yada yada yada. It's always going to be the quarterback that takes the initial blast of why your team sucks. And then Monday, when I woke up and went to work and checked social media at some point, it felt like everyone's come full circle on the fact that if the whole offense sucks, and obviously the O line's been the O line, there's nothing new with that. That was to be expected. It has to be the offensive coordinator. And Robert Spillane coming out and being like, someone on the offense came over to me and said, we didn't know what coverage you were running, is absolutely insane and just shows how much more prepared the Patriots were for that game than the Chargers. Don't get me wrong, the Chargers defense played out of their mind and did more than enough to win a game when you hold a team to like 16 points or whatever it was. But for the Chargers to not even score, and this to be Greg Roman's second playoff appearance, and what was it, Matt? Like in 44 drives, they put up 2 touchdowns
yeah, because he was
or
also on the
two scoring
Ravens
drives.
too, and they were like 1-7 on the Ravens and whatever it is now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't wish ill on coaches, and I don't, I hate to see people not succeed and lose their job. But after the Texans to the Patriots, I refuse to believe it could be anybody but Greg Roman. If the blocking was better, if the tight ends were in better spots, if the wide receivers got open more. I mean, I went back and watched most of that game for the Chargers offense, and there was a set amount of plays where someone was open, and most of the time that's only because at that point in the play, the Patriots were already collapsing on Justin Herbert. Like he was already taking off out of the pocket, and it was clear he wasn't going to be able to throw at that point anyway.
31
While he has a
dropbacks, 30 pressures.
yeah. So not going to bore anybody too much to death. I think everyone's already talked enough about it. I don't think Justin Herbert is that bad. I do think the offense as a whole has been that bad, though, if that makes sense. I really think they went into that game thinking we'll have Hampton, we'll have Vidal, we'll be able to hit them with the running back 1-2 punch, and then Justin Herbert will be able to throw the pass, however many times a drive we need him to keep the pressure off just getting set up for the run. And as soon as Hampton played his second snap and his ankle wasn't feeling right, and Harbaugh saw that, or Greg Roman saw that, and they didn't play him the rest of the game, that was the end of it. They had no backup plan for if Hampton didn't feel that good. And for what it's worth, who knows if that's Hampton all week saying, I feel real good, coach, and then at game day just goes, it's not going to work, and he pulls himself out. We'll never know those details. But it felt like there was no backup plan. And then at some point there in like the third, fourth quarter, the Patriots realized they could just all out blitz the rest of the game or only send 4 and just cover the wide receivers. And that man got folded like a table. The one drive, or the one play especially towards the end there. But I mean, if you're running a play action on 4th and 9 on the last drive of the game, after your quarterback's been beaten and battered, like for the love of God, man, what are we doing?
Yeah, the
That's
gameplay
all I'm
never
gonna say.
changed throughout that game. They just kept trying the
No,
same thing over and over and over, expecting something to change.
and for what it's worth, I don't expect a whole new game plan at halftime, but you would think some adjustments would be made where someone's more open. And yeah, Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen could have jumped for the ball. You can say what you want about the wide receivers, but they weren't in any better shape because they were constantly couldn't break free at all. And they took some deep shots. I think Quentin Johnston was covered by 2 or 3 people on a couple of those deep balls too. Nothing worked. I refuse to believe Justin Herbert's that bad of a quarterback, especially with that O-line they have this season. And when Alt and Slater are back, and if he blows a game again like that, sure, whatever. But 0-3 for Herbert to start his career is tragic. I know there were some people trying to kind of cope with the Peyton Manning thing. The style of football that was played with Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, all those quarterbacks versus what's being played now is just not the same. Quarterbacks have to be mobile. There has to be more options. I don't buy into that at all. If Herbert goes 0-4 in the playoffs, I think that's about it. And to be quite honest, if he took the Andrew Luck route at this point, I wouldn't even blame him, to be honest. Because it's like the third playoff game, 2 of them didn't have any offensive production, and one of them you blew a 27-point lead, or whatever the hell that was, versus the Jaguars. Like, he's holding some of the worst stats in the playoffs for a quarterback ever that's played more than 5 seasons. I won't be the if-man Chargers fan, because it is bullshit, and it is... If your record is 0-3 in the playoffs, you are essentially Kirk Cousins on steroids at this point. But I just want to see some sort of better help for him, too. And I don't think that's crazy to say. There's a balance there, and it feels like he's been just put up for no success in either situation.
Well, they have the 41st best ranked center out of 32 teams. So that's one problem.
I mean, can't you pull a backup from another team? Like, it's unbelievable. It is what it is. Greg Roman and the offensive line coach are gone. I think that's a great start. And we'll see how they draft, because now we're all mocking together. And that's just how the rest of the year is going to go. But hey, they can't hurt me anymore, and that's all that matters. I feel like they old yeller at every Chargers fan that had hope that this would be the season. And you know what? It is what it is. I came to terms with it. The Patriots were just better coached, and they were in a better spot, and being home is nice. And when you have all those fans show up for Drake Maye, I'm gay for May, Dave Portnoy, whatever, it's like, that is a system, a great quarterback. I'm sure he'll do fine. And I am very curious to see who wins the Stafford Drake Maye MVP battle, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Do you have a real opinion on that, Matt? I really don't have an opinion on it.
I think Drake Maye deserves it more than Matt Stafford. I just feel like Matt Stafford is kind of, he's played so well over so many years. He deserves one. Let's finally give him one. That's kind of where I'm leaning to. I think Stafford deserves an MVP the majority of the years, but I think Drake Maye, for what he's done for that team so quickly, turn around. There were a 4-win team last year, or 3-win team last year.
That. I mean,
and he goes in there and turns that team around. The entire city is rooting for him now. Second seed, almost first seed. Like, he's turned the entire organization around. I think that speaks more than just the individual season stats. Even then, stats is pretty close. So I'd like to see Drake Maye win it.
Those ballots have been turned in already, so there's nothing they can do now can even change it. But I would agree with that. To some extent, I'd like to see Stafford get one. Not so much like the MVP thing, or Super Bowl, where everyone was just happy he finally won something. But being kind of the old man in the NFL at this point, kind of that older generation that's still hanging around and still being able to do what he does is pretty good. But I think, when you talk about what Drake Maye's done this season with who he's got, and then when you look and, these Patriots games where they're supposed to win, and yes, it was an easy schedule for them, there's nothing they can do about that, how much they just beat the shit out of teams.
Yeah, they didn't keep any bad teams lingering. They handled business pretty quickly.
And I mean, even beating the Ravens and beating some of these other teams that were supposed to be tough, that you and I predicted they might win, what we say, like 9-1 or something
7-2 like that. 7-2 to start, yeah.
Yeah, and they lost to the Raiders week 1 and then just like throttled every team afterwards, which is still a crazy thought.
Including the Bills.
The Raiders. Yeah, true. So I rest my case. I said my piece on the Chargers stuff. I don't think I missed anything. Matt, did I miss anything on the Chargers game that I'd have to address as a fan?
I don't think so, other than the PFF ratings.
I mean, dude, it's criminal. And again, on national TV, they're showing that. And it's the 41 out of 32. You're telling me we couldn't have called 8 other guys that are technically better that are second strings, but also they might have been hurt? Like, there is something to be said about how bad it was. And, Bozeman at center, that was rough. That was rough watching Pipkins, Becton after his Eagles run. it was rough. I think that, they got enough of their, I wouldn't say got what they deserve, because that's not what I mean. I think the world has already beat them up enough. I feel bad for them, to be quite honest, because they were put in a situation where your top 2 linemen are now not playing the rest of the season, and you were supposed to be a sub, but hey, now you're starting and you can't stop anybody. But for how many times those guys would get turned around and start looking at each other when someone's running free at Justin Herbert was truly abysmal. And I still kind of put that on coaching, but also, like, it's insane how bad that offensive line was. I generational ass, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, the classic Chargers tweet, "Ooh, it stank." Like, God bless. But that's enough for me. Anything else from you, Matt?
No, I'm all good. Just happy
Hell
the
yeah.
Eagles lost, Packers lost, Cowboys fans feeling good out there. So
Yeah. Hey, a small
12th
win
and
for Cowboys
20,
fans.
12th and 20
Yeah.
first round draft picks. It's only up from
2
here if
draft
Jerry
picks.
Jones can do something. But
Maybe Jerry wants to get one more before he goes over the big star in the sky, but we'll see.
please God sign George Pickens back.
Max Crosby too.
No, don't get my hopes up.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us this week, gang. Appreciate everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week on the Coy Pond. Peace.